Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like tonight's film, The Erotic Rites of Frankenstein by Jess Franco. The date on the back of this Redemption Blu-ray is 1972, but IMDb has 1973 with a foreign title. This is The Erotic Rites of Frankenstein, and this is on Blu-ray from Redemption Films. Um, and this was previously on a DVD release, I think from Image. But this is a very, very important Blu-ray release for this particular film because it's on this release that you're getting the full uncensored version of this film. And this film had some different versions going around, but I believe the DVD release had the censored version and some, like, you could see the non-clothed scenes as like a special feature. But in this one, it is the full unclothed sequences where they should have been, so on and so forth. So if you have the DVD, this Redemption Blu-ray is definitely the way to go. Plus, it looks freaking amazing. And this is the kind of film that you want to see looking amazing, believe me, and hearing amazing as well. For this particular film, you can see the cover art right here. And just as colorful as that cover art is, that is as colorful as this movie is. Wow, wow, wow. The Erotic Rites of Frankenstein. It says in the back here it was written and directed by Jess Franco. Not just directed, it was written as well. And this is Jess Franco utilizing the kind of or being inspired by the Frankenstein story, and that's where it ends. He's inspired by the Frankenstein story, and then he goes off into his entirely unique and complex world of a story that incorporates elements of the Frankenstein story, just elements, and completely goes haywire with them in a world of monsters and the supernatural and seeming ritualistic black mass types of ordeals, and seeming zombies and seeming resurrection of supernatural entities. Holy crap. And of course, utilizing the elements of Frankenstein with bringing people back to life, and utilizing Dr. Frankenstein's daughter, and we really have something wild. This is a wild, psychedelic, very eerie, creepy, sexual, bizarre world. This is a world that you're looking at here, a multicolored world. This is a horrific film with imagery that will sear itself into your head in just the way things look. The creepiness. This is The Erotic Rites of Frankenstein. So let's get into this film. I'm so excited to talk about it. Stephen Thrower, who does a lot of special features on a lot of these Jess Franco DVDs and Blu-rays, and also wrote the Jess Franco book, Volume 1, which Volume 2 should be coming out in 2016. He stated that this was like one of the first films he saw from Franco that really kind of showed him how amazing Franco was and how complex he was. So let's get into it. First and foremost, the music in this film, of course, once again was done by the infamous Daniel White, who did a lot of Jess Franco film music. And in this one, we really have something that represents this particular film. We have, how do you mix the gothic with funky jazz? How do you mix them together into one whole, into one thing? and then bringing in exotic and dark hand percussion and ritualistic hand percussion. This is a movie that is filled with music, filled with sound design, and this is a movie that has very dark and weird elements of sound design. Even one of the characters in this film is made up of sound design, as you hear bird calls and birds chirping. Very, very bizarre stuff here. But the music in this film is dark. It is thunderous. It is intense. It is creepy, weird, bizarre, atmospheric. It has all of that, but I really got this bizarre mix of gothic, jazz, funk, ritualistic fusion, and very, very classic at the same time. The cinematography and the style of this film is so in your face, it's not funny. You know how I've mentioned before when Jess Franco kind of has this Coke bottle, I don't know what it's called and how he does it, where it kind of looks like a Coke bottle and it almost looks like he's shooting from the ground up, and it almost makes everything around look huge. And when the camera moves around all these huge things, it kind of, there's a focal point in the middle, and all the huge stuff just kind of glides around, and it makes everything just look just like a Coke bottle glasses. This film is entirely shot in that fashion. This film has such a presence style-wise, such a ominous, scary, atmospheric presence to it. He's also doing something with the camera where whenever there are people in the camera, a still figure, he'll have something over here occupying this empty space. Like in this one particular unbelievable scene of Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein's daughter at the cemetery, and she's over here, and there's a cemetery cross over here, and it is gothic, and I mean, it is powerful, it is eerie, and such atmosphere. There are so many shots in this film that could be isolated as photographs or made into paintings, and they would be unbelievable. He's utilizing some zooms in here as well, but we mostly have something that is grandiose in a Franco way and very eerie. He also plays with shadows in this film as well, which there's one scene involving the Frankenstein monster and another character, and you see the shadows before you see them. Just genius stuff. In terms of lighting, well, I already showed you the cover of this. The lighting is like the cover of this. We have reds, we have greens, and all of these, just a kaleidoscope seemingly of colors. I also want to mention in the sound design that there are some sounds in this film. I don't want to forget, there are some sounds in this film that almost sound like it's the score, but it's actually the sounds of things in a particular room. Yes, indeed. Weird, weird sounds. This film is wild. It is story-wise, it is wild. Character-wise, it is wild. Style-wise, it is wild. We really see Franco's storytelling since he wrote this just complete freedom, going right off the map. And it is horrific, and it's weird. And it's sexual, of course. And we have a torture scene in here. We have a couple kind of slaves being tortured in here, like white slavery. We have supernatural and monster type situations and complexities, dealing with the same complexities and theories that were done in the original Frankenstein film with playing God. We have a lot of big hitters in this film, a lot of Franco actors and actresses in this film. And wow, you are going to see some unbelievable acting in this film. In particular, this woman playing a bird of sorts. Wild costumes, wild outfits, a castle in the woods with many long hallways and stairwells and corridors. Um, it has kind of a period type vibe, but not really at all. There is violence in this film. There is violence by acid, violence by stabbing, beheadings. I mean, this is a film that kind of has a little bit of a pretty violent vibe for a Franco film. And we have some lurid sexuality where the camera is kind of focused um, on the vagina of a seemingly dead laying down woman, things like that. Um, and in terms sexually speaking, I don't recall real like type real sex scenes in here. It's more nudity and kind of a sleaziness that's in here as well. We have a lot of close-ups in this film, a lot of close-ups of eyes, and there are unbelievable creatures in this film, or zombies, or something that gather in ritualistic, ceremonial types of ways, and on some of the creepiest ritualistic things I've seen in a Franco film. These skeleton heads that almost remind me of Mansion of the Living Dead that he did, that I'll review on this page in the future, but creepier. And just these people gathering, and skeletons with black cloaks, and I mean, and red lighting. I mean, this is really, you can actually see some of it on the back of this here, right there. And we have Howard Vernon, we have Britt Nichols, we have Ann Liebert. I got to tell you, Ann Liebert in this film might be one of my favorite performances from her. She is unbelievable. There's a lot of weird nudity in this film, by the way, folks. So that makes the film very high in the erotic element. A lot of weird nudity. And for a Franco film without any real sexual situations, from what I recall, this is a film that is completely filled with that type of nudity, and which kind of is very erotic in a way. Britt Nichols looks amazing. As usual, and Ann Liebert does as well, even though she looks nuts. Howard Vernon is amazing in this film, playing a villain of sorts, and there is just some very bizarre mythology or storylines, and also some twists and some turns dealing with with Dr. Frankenstein's daughter and Dr. Frankenstein himself. Jess Franco plays a very brief role in this film as well, and more of a straighter character in some ways. But this is really something weird, very, very weird, gothic, otherworldly, I would say, and ritualistic and surreal. The Erotic Rites of Frankenstein by Mr. Jess Franco, 1972-1973. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like this one. Please feel free to check out all my other reviews on this YouTube page and my own personal films at youtube.com/poopydiarrhea. Thank you and good night.